She stood at the edge of the bakery window, her small hands pressed against the cold glass, eyes fixed on a cake covered in pink frosting and tiny candles she knew would never be lit for her. It was her birthday, but there would be no celebration, no song, no cake waiting at home, only another quiet evening in a one-room apartment where dreams learned early how to stay silent. Some birthdays are remembered for joy, and some for absence. This one would have been forgotten by the world if fate hadn't decided otherwise. Before the story goes any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of one good deed to change a life, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps keep stories like this alive. Her name was Lily, and she had learned at just 8 years old that wanting too much only made disappointment sharper. Her mother worked long hours cleaning offices, leaving before sunrise and returning long after dark, hands cracked and tired, eyes always apologetic. Lily never complained. She understood what empty cupboards meant, what overdue bills felt like even when you couldn't read the numbers. When her birthday came around, she didn't ask for gifts. She didn't ask for toys. She didn't even ask for cake. Still, somewhere deep inside her chest, there was a small ache she couldn't name, especially when other children talked about parties and candles and wishes. That afternoon, Lily had been sent to buy bread with a few coins carefully counted into her palm. The bakery was warm, filled with the smell of sugar and happiness. That was when she saw the cake. It wasn't the biggest or the fanciest, but to her it looked magical. She imagined, just for a second, how it might feel to blow out candles while someone smiled at her and said her name. She whispered to herself that it was okay, that she didn't need it, that birthdays were just days anyway. But tears don't always listen to reason. One escaped, sliding down her cheek as she turned away, hoping no one had noticed. Someone had noticed. Across the street, stepping out of a sleek black car, was a young man whose face appeared on magazine covers and business headlines. At 26, he was already known as a billionaire, a tech prodigy who had built an empire faster than anyone expected. To the world, he had everything: money, influence, freedom. What the world didn't see was how lonely success could feel, or how haunted he still was by memories of his own childhood, where birthdays were skipped and wishes were learned but never granted. He noticed Lily not because of her clothes or her silence, but because of the way she looked at the cake, like someone saying goodbye to something they loved without ever touching it. He paused, something tightening in his chest. He remembered being that child, pretending not to care, telling himself he was strong enough to go without. For reasons he couldn't fully explain, he followed her inside the bakery. The girl tried to hide her tears as she paid for the bread, eyes fixed on the counter. She felt embarrassed for feeling sad over something so small. She didn't notice the man behind her until the baker smiled differently, a little nervous, a little excited. The young billionaire didn't announce who he was. He didn't need to. He simply asked the baker a question that would change the course of the day, and maybe much more than that. Moments later, Lily was handed a small box tied with a ribbon. She shook her head at first, insisting there must be a mistake. Gifts didn't come to her. Kindness from strangers was something she'd only read about. When she finally understood that the cake was for her, that it was real, that it was happening, her legs trembled. She held the box like it might disappear if she didn't, but the young man didn't stop there. He walked with her back to the apartment building, ignoring the stares of people who recognized him now, ignoring calls buzzing in his pocket. He met Lily's mother, who stood frozen in the doorway, shocked and ashamed all at once, apologizing for things she didn't need to apologize for. He listened quietly as she spoke about work, about trying, about loving her daughter more than life, but never feeling like it was enough. What happened next stunned everyone in that small, dim hallway. The billionaire didn't offer pity. He offered respect. He paid the overdue rent without making it feel like charity. He arranged for groceries to be delivered regularly. He set up a small education fund in Lily's name, not as a grand announcement, but as a quiet promise. And then, in a moment that would stay with Lily forever, he knelt down to her level and told her that her life mattered, that her dreams were allowed to be big, and that today, this day, was worth celebrating. That night, in the tiny apartment, candles were lit for the first time. Lily closed her eyes and made a wish she had been too afraid to form before. She wished not for toys or money, but for her mother to smile more, for days that didn't feel so heavy, for the feeling in her chest to stop hurting. The cake wasn't perfect, but it tasted like hope. The story didn't end there. Over the years, the young billionaire kept his distance but kept his word. He made sure Lily had access to good schools, mentors, and opportunities. He never tried to take credit, never posted about it, never turned her life into a headline. For him, it wasn't about being seen. It was about healing a part of himself that had once stood at a bakery window, wishing someone would notice. Lily grew older, stronger, more confident. She learned that kindness could arrive unexpectedly, that the world wasn't only harsh, that sometimes one person's decision could shift the direction of an entire life. On her birthdays after that, there was always cake, but more importantly, there was laughter, warmth, and the belief that she belonged in the world. Years later, when Lily stood on a stage accepting a scholarship for students who had overcome hardship, she told her story without names or details. She spoke about a birthday without cake, about a stranger who chose to see her, and about how that moment taught her to see others. In the audience, a familiar man listened quietly, eyes heavy with emotion, knowing that the greatest return on his success had never been money. It had been this. If this story is touching your heart, if it reminds you of someone who once needed kindness or maybe still does, please take a moment right now to like the video, share it, and let us know in the comments that you believe small acts can create big miracles. Your engagement helps stories like this reach people who need them most. Before the ending, we have a special request for you. Comment the word kindness if you believe one good deed can change a life. Because somewhere tonight, a child might be standing in front of a window, telling themselves not to want too much, and somewhere nearby, someone has the power to notice.